Am I the a-hole for humiliating my aunt by saying I never dated her son? My mother's longtime best friend has been my aunt for as long as I can remember. When I was 16, she moved near us and her son started attending my school. From day one, he seemed to think he was dating me. My aunt and my mother both pressed on about how sweet it would be if we were victorious childhood friends. When we didn't date in high school and I went to college, this chatter went away. The truth is, I barely know this guy. We played together on beach vacations as little kids because we were the only kids in a group of buzzed adults. He wasn't even a great playmate. As we got older, it was more and more apparent to at least me that he had some sort of issue. My own theory, albeit this is an armchair theory, is that he is autistic and hasn't gotten any therapy or treatment to help him navigate the world. Anyway, my mom had a barbecue a few weekends ago, and I came with my boyfriend. My aunt then came with her son. After my boyfriend and I sat down, my aunt came over and asked who my friend was. I explained he was my new boyfriend. She sighed and asked how I could do this to her son. My response was along the lines of, "What?" Then she launched into how she understood we were on a break. But showing up at a party with my revenge guy was a low blow, especially since everyone knew we'd get back together. And it wasn't fair to my flavor of the month to pretend like I was available, and she knew how hung up I was on her son. I know this sounds insane the way I put it, but she seemed so genuine that it was very convincing, and my boyfriend was visibly shocked. I had no idea where this came from, so I said, "Auntie, Sonny and I have never dated." I took him to one casual dance as a kindness. I don't know what he's told you about our relationship, but the reality is, we just say hi on Facebook sometimes. She accused me of saving face in front of my boyfriend. He laughed, and I freaked out. I told her, very loudly, that this is crazy, that I'm not, and never have dated her son. That is really, truly, and utterly undateable. I don't know a single girl who would date this boy. She had just assumed that I'd go along with this crazy narrative that would somehow insulate her from dealing with that reality, but I wasn't going to. Then I left, and was lucky enough to catch my boyfriend before he left, so I had to ride home. She and my mother sent me emails explaining that she was humiliated in front of her longtime friends, that I had no business saying that in public to her. I can see now that it would have been better to pull her into the kitchen or the house and explain this to her, since I now think it's possible her son was feeding her lines and she was really shocked, and I did say some harsh things. But in that case, didn't she owe me a trip to the kitchen to call me out on my infidelity? Edit. Some people have said that I was screaming that my aunt's son was undateable. I did not scream, and in fact, several people at the party didn't even know there was a commotion. While I was loud, we were also close to a table full of the sorority sisters that make up my mom and my aunt's friend group. Also, he really is undateable. I've tried to help him set up profiles, and have even tried to set him up on a date with a few of my friends who I think might really get along with him, but it's been a disaster. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. She also could have pulled you aside to talk to you privately if her son was truly telling her lies. Instead, she tried to catch you in front of your boyfriend and the rest of the family. Always a great point. Why is it these a-holes get to start trouble and then claim it was wrong to confront them in public? Just wow. Not an a-hole. You may have taken it a bit too far by proclaiming that her son was utterly undateable, but she has some nerve to say you humiliated her after she accused you of cheating in front of your boyfriend. Yeah, saying it was really, truly, utterly undateable, and I don't know a single girl who would date this boy, is a lot. And probably inappropriate. But she shouldn't have continued to push it after you said that you and Sonny had never dated. Lol, what? Not a-hole. She is openly trying to sabotage your relationship doing this, because in her mind you're somehow betrothed to her son. Even if the kid wasn't autistic, you're not interested. And this isn't the Middle Ages where you arrange marriages. In her culture, arranged marriages happen, and the kids just go along with it in a lot of cases. I do wonder if, in her world, we were going to sow wild oats and then follow the script. Next story. Am I the a-hole for purposefully sending my cousin the wrong timing for a movie so the others could enjoy? My 16 female brother Nate, 17 male, was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder when he was 12. At first I walked in eggshells around him, but things are much better now. Most family members know and understand that IED is not just tantrums but a serious issue. Some do not. And one of my cousins, Kira, 17 female, is one of those people. Ever since my parents informed the family about Nate being diagnosed, she has done nothing but intentionally pushes buttons at every family gathering, outing, or whenever we are together. My parents have talked to my uncle and aunt about this, but they brush it off calling it pranks. Now, my parents will not under any cost damage relations with my dad's brother and his family or my dad's other siblings, but none of my other cousins like Kira or her family. We are forced to be cordial because of our parents, and Kira has to be invited every time us cousins hang out together, most of the time ending with Nate being triggered by Kira. The day before yesterday, we all planned to watch a movie. Our parents knew this, so of course they told Kira's parents had told her. She messaged me and asked me where and when we were supposed to meet at. My brother had been really looking forward to this movie and meeting our cousins after a few months in person. He had also been in a really good mood, and I didn't want Kira to ruin it. So I did what I thought was best at the time. I gave her the wrong timing. I told my cousins and Nate what I did, and they were fully on board. After the movie finished, we came out of the theater and waited for some time in the parking lot. As soon as we saw Kira pulling over, waving at us, all of us waved back with the sweetest smiles, made a run for our cars, got in, and left. As expected, when me and Nate reached home, we were immediately ambushed by our parents about why we abandoned Kira. Apparently, she had cried all the way home. My parents grounded me and Nate for 2 weeks. He surprisingly took it well and said it was worth it. The rest of my cousins were grounded as well. I did text them telling them they could tell their parents it was my idea, but my cousins refused and reiterated what my brother had said. I thought that was the end of it, but my parents have been really hurt by this and said me and Nate humiliated them in front of Kira's parents and that Kira has been inconsolable since. So Reddit, I don't know. Am I the a-hole? Edit. So, a lot of people are wondering why I invited her rather than telling her outright not to come. I didn't invite her. My parents did. Also, if I tried to deny the invitation, then none of my aunts or uncles or my parents would have let us go. I do see how waiting around may have been an a-hole move. Not an a-hole. She can dish it, but she can't take it? Tell your uncle and aunt it was just a prank, and you don't understand why they are overreacting. They don't mind when their own child pranks others, so what's the problem? I normally not want to reply to petty with petty, but God, this needs to be the top answer for once. Opie, please, please, please do this. It's really not petty. What Opie did was an actual prank. What the cousin does to Opie's brother is emotional warfare. Not an a-hole. Your parents are huge a-holes for allowing your brother to be tormented, just because they want to keep the peace. They would rather their child suffer than their lives get affected in the slightest. Not an a-hole. If anything, your parents should see this as an eye-opener that when Kira intentionally messed around with Nate, no one seemed to take it seriously. However, when you guys give Kira a little taste of her own medicine and pranked her, now it's serious? Not an a-hole. Does Kira prank all of you or just Nate? The fact that your entire family puts up with Kira's crap is why she keeps doing it. They're enablers. Keep doing what you all are doing. Maybe the grown-ups will finally get the message. It's just Nate, as we all have learned to ignore her. Nate is the only one she can get to react because of the IED. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for pointing out my aunt has a favorite kid at a family dinner? My aunt Mara, 45 female, has 2 kids. Reese, 13 female, and Laura, 9 female. Mara's always clearly preferred Laura. Reese always knew it too. My aunt always makes sure Laura can do the extracurriculars she wants to do. She lets her drop out anytime, even if she's paid in advance. She gives her the birthday she wants every year, and in general she's more affectionate and interested in what Laura's up to. But with Reese, she pushed her into dance when she was 5, and made her do dance for 4 years. Reese never liked dancing, it never seemed to fit in, and Mara hated it. She would ask her why she couldn't put more effort in, etc. That she had always wanted a daughter who did dance. I, 18 female, was around there a lot because Aunt Mara babysat me for my parents while they worked, and then I just had to wait at her house until my parents got home so we could save on electric bills and stuff. I once asked Aunt Mara why Reese couldn't do something she wanted to do, and she told me they didn't have the money for it. Reese never got to do another one, but Laura's several. Soccer, dance, art, and swim right now. But she's also done basketball, photography, gymnastics. which really upset Reese because she always wanted to do gymnastics, guitar, piano, drums, and singing. Aunt Mara also discards Reese's plans and has made her cancel to look after her sister, but also made Reese skip her plans when Laura has them and they conflict. In the last year and a half, Reese has just decided to say screw everyone. She's definitely weighed down by it all. We talk about it, because she said I'm the only one who acknowledges it. But I have definitely noticed. We were all gathered for a family dinner Sunday. It was my grandparents' birthday this week, so the family decided to celebrate Sunday. And Reese was in a really bad mood. Aunt Mara told her she was bringing down the mood, and Reese got up and left the table. Aunt Mara said she didn't know what was up with her, but that she's always acting like the whole world is out to get her. So I mentioned that maybe if she didn't show such blatant favoritism, Reese would be happier. My aunt and parents were pissed that I would bring it up, and my grandparents asked what I meant. Aunt Mara said I didn't know what I was talking about, and Reese is such a drama queen. I told my grandparents what I meant, and they were shocked. Aunt Mara said Reese never wanted to do anything, but Grandma remembered how often Reese would ask to do gymnastics. My parents told me it wasn't the correct time or place to bring it up, and I embarrassed Aunt Mara. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. My parents told me it wasn't the correct time or place to bring it up, and I embarrassed Aunt Mara. Not the a-hole. Your aunt's behavior is what embarrassed her, and it's going to have done so regardless when you brought it up. The fact that Opie's parents were okay with a child being treated that way is even more concerning. Opie is not the a-hole, but her parents obviously relied on Mara a lot for childcare and were in no position to criticize her. Opie's parents were very poor according to her description. She hung out at Aunt's house in order to save electricity at her own home, so it's unlikely they had any other childcare options. Common sense says don't put someone on blast when you desperately need their help. Welcome to the world of the working poor. Sometimes you have to eat crap to put food on the table. The problem here is Aunt. Good for Opie for sticking up for cousin, but she has nothing to lose here, so it's not a reflection on the character of her own parents that they never said anything. They may not even have known, given that they seem to work a lot. They owe the aunt a lot for providing years of free childcare, and are not going to attack her, deserved or not. Your aunt disgusts me. You're not the a-hole, and my heart goes out to Reese. Not the a-hole. If she was embarrassed, she probably does it knowingly, knows it is looked down upon but still doesn't change a thing. Good for you for standing up for your cousin. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for keeping all my recently deceased grandfather's paintings? About 10 years ago, my grandfather was diagnosed with dementia. One of the activities his doctor suggested was that he do paint by numbers kits as a form of mental exercise. So pretty much everyone in my family would get him a kit for his birthday or Christmas. He would give the family member back the completed painting when it was done if they wanted it. The thing is, most sets were pretty generic landscapes or things like that. Well, one day while looking online, I came across a site that made custom sets from photographs you submitted. These were quite a bit more expensive than the kits from the craft store, but I figured my grandfather would enjoy painting things that had meaning to him. The first set I got him was a set of the wedding day for him and my grandmother. Over the years, I got him sets of family portraits, their house, and other things that had meaning to him. Whenever he finished one, the next time I visited he made sure to return it to me. When he died and the family was talking about the funeral, I suggested that we display some of his paintings at the viewing. Turn it into a mini art show because everyone in my family knew about his proficiency with paint by numbers. Turns out that over the years, most of my family had gotten rid of most of the paintings he did. So when I brought in my paintings, everyone was blown away by them. The paintings quickly turned into a topic of conversation at the viewing, with certain aunts and uncles trying to claim various paintings for themselves. After the funeral, there was a small get-together at my grandfather's house for just a close family. The paintings came up there again. My aunts and uncles told me that I should share all the paintings with them and my cousins, so they would all have something to remember him by. That's what he would have wanted. I responded back that they could have kept the paintings I gave them, and they were special to me as well. One of my aunts called me a selfish a-hole for wanting to keep all the paintings. So, am I the a-hole for not sharing the paintings with my other family members? Edit. To clear up a few things I see in the comments, my grandmother died about 4 months ago. We think Grandpa was only hanging on for her. The company got the kits from is no longer in business. It was a small mom-and-pop place, but they sell similar kits. Just have to do a Google search. I'd given 2 of the paintings to my dad before my grandpa passed. They were a painting of my grandfather and my dad and I just after I was born, and a painting of my grandfather in his fishing gear. My dad took him fishing every week up to when he died. I don't know if my family knew about the costume kits. They would be open to family situation, but I don't know if anyone paid any more attention than the other pair of numbers kit. Not a-hole. If they wanted them, they should have kept theirs in the first place. We don't owe them anything. Plus, Opie was the one who went out of their way to do the extra thoughtful step of getting the personalized painting options for him. An extra reason to not share them. Not a-hole. And if they knew he was working on these when he was alive, they could have asked Opie where they got personalized paint by numbers from, and had him paint their favorite photos while he was still alive. Not a-hole. Not a-hole. Asking for the paintings is understandable because they are grieving, but attacking you when you refused is not acceptable. They had the opportunity to treasure his work while he was alive and chose not to. Also, great idea getting the costume kits. There is a possibility that they're grieving and feel guilty about throwing the paintings out, and that is why they're lashing out at Opie. They could also be entitled a-holes. Opie, may I suggest you take high-quality photos of the images and put together some kind of PowerPoint or even book to send your family? Maybe a good Christmas gift. If you can get your hands on a decent enough scan, you may even be able to blow the photos up to 8x10s, or even larger to hand out to family members. This way you get to keep something important, but appease them to an extent. Am I the a-hole for choosing to go on a trip with my girlfriend instead of taking care of my struggling brother's son? For context, my 24 male, brother Luke 31 male, his wife Emma 28 female, and their son Kyle 4 male moved to my city last year because Emma got a new job. They would occasionally ask me to watch Kyle because I work from home with very flexible hours. I personally do not like kids at all, but I was happy to do it at a time because I wanted to help them. It was not that often, maybe once or twice every 2 weeks, and Kyle was very well behaved. Now, the issue started near the end of last year when Luke decided to change careers. He was previously working remotely as well, but his new job required him to go to work as a lot more often and make substantially less money. This left them depending on me more and more to take care of Kyle. It went from once or twice every 2 weeks to around 3 days out of the week. To make matters worse, Kyle's behavior changed drastically. To be completely honest, I can barely stand a kid anymore, constantly running around and screaming while I'm trying to work, and just overall being a little turd. My sister-in-law Emma was over the other day picking up Kyle and made some comments about getting rid of some of the dangerous furniture in my house, like tables with glass edges and stuff, so that my home is safer for their son, and made a joke about baby-proofing my house because they're planning to have a daughter. This ticked me off, but I didn't say anything. The situation hit a breaking point last Friday when I was talking about the 1.5-week-long trip I was going on with my girlfriend on the 15th. Me and my girlfriend like to travel somewhere nice at least once a month. We could not the past couple months because of Kyle, but I promised my girlfriend we would go somewhere exotic for Valentine's. Upon hearing this, they got pretty mad, asking who was gonna take care of Kyle, and that I need to stop these childish trips, and that I need to take more responsibility because I'm an uncle now. I'm not gonna lie, after hearing this, I've freaking snapped. I said that their demon child isn't my responsibility, and I'm not just gonna give up my life because they did it without a rubber. It got pretty obscene from there and some horrible things were said. They left, and we are now no longer on speaking terms. My parents and Emma's parents are on their side and extremely angry at me for refusing to pull my weight. My parents said that this is my duty, and I should be sacrificing everything to help them. It honestly got me really down, and I've cried my eyes pretty much every day since seeing those messages from my family. I'm starting to wonder if I really should be taking more responsibility. Am I the a-hole for choosing my trips over my brother and nephew? Not the a-hole. Sounds like your and Emma's parents need to start doing their duty and watching their grandchild. If they're not willing to do that, all their huffing and puffing that you need to watch Kyle is just hot air. This is not your child, and you have no weight to pull. This just reeks of trying to gang up on you because you're the youngest and you're nice, and they think you're going to cave. Stay strong and keep your boundaries. As an uncle myself, the most responsibility we should be given is to tucker out the nieces and nephews at family gathering and nothing more. Emergency childcare, sure, but suddenly the third parent? Hell no. Sounds more like they think uncle is a free nanny in daycare. They abuse his willingness to help. The uncle has all the right in the world to take his girlfriend on a trip. He could have been a lot more thoughtful and could have managed to go to the in-laws for help. Sounds like the grandparents don't like to pull that weight in raising the grandkids. Not the a-hole. Stay strong in your decision. The fact that they are planning a second child with you as their childcare answer is scary. You need to make it clear that you don't run a daycare facility. Otherwise, you will have a demon child, plus a squawking baby needing diaper changes, feedings, etc. at your home during your work hours. Not the a-hole. Your family are guilting you because none of them can be asked to take care of the son either. Sorry this is happening to you, OP, but stand your ground. You're 100% right. Sounds like your brother and sister-in-law have become entitled to your help and forgotten what it's like to be solely responsible for your kid, so they've begun relying on your help. But as you so rightfully pointed out, this is totally a them problem. Your parents are probably joining in because they know if you stop looking after Kyle altogether, they'll be relied on a lot more. Also, about your outburst, yeah, maybe not the best way to react, but they pushed you to breaking point and you snapped. Also, they were being rude and unreasonable in their expectations, so I don't expect you to respond 100% calmly and rationally either. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not splitting my daughter's college fund? When my 42 female daughter's 17 female was 7, we lost her father to an avoidable accident. Due to that and a subsequent settlement, my daughter was able to have a trust fund of sorts that provided for college, grad school if she wanted, and even some left over for whatever life might bring. It is money that, if managed wisely, would enable her to have a head start in life. She knows about this, and is never taken for granted given where the money came from. After all, we'd both rather have her father around than the money. That said, life moves on, and I remarried 6 years after my husband's passing to a lovely man who has 2 children of his own, 17 female and 13 male. All of the children live with us primarily, with his children seeing their mother on vacations as she lives across the country. This year, both our girls are graduating and should be headed to college. My daughter was admitted to her dream school last year and is ecstatic about it. Her father was an alumnus, and she has this old sweatshirt of his that she kept to remind her of him. She cried so much when she got in, and both her stepfather and I were proud of her because she worked hard to get in. My stepdaughter will also be attending a wonderful school that is one of the top-ranked schools for her interests. The problem now arises with the money to pay for stepdaughter's school, because her parents cannot afford to pay the tuition in its entirety. Stepdaughter will have to take some loans. All told, she will graduate with about $40,000 in loans, which I think is still quite modest for the school she's attending, and her earning prospects post-graduation. But my daughter will graduate debt-free, and for my husband, this is suddenly a problem. He wants us to split my daughter's fund between all 3 kids, because then they could all probably have college fully paid for. My daughter won't have much left over, and will definitely need to borrow for grad school, which she has expressed interest in attending. But according to my husband, that's okay because everyone will start off on an equal footing post-college. I think this is unfair to my daughter because 1, her father had to die for this money, and 2, this is like her inheritance from him. My husband thinks that they're all siblings and she should be happy to share the money with them if it means giving her siblings a head start in life. I absolutely do not want to put her in the position of being guilted into saying yes if she doesn't want to. I've expressed all of this to my husband and he thinks that I'm being selfish, that I'm teaching my daughter to be selfish, and I obviously don't consider my stepkids the same as my daughter. Am I the a-hole for wanting to protect my daughter's trust for her as it was intended? Edited to add, since I've seen this a few times already, both kids do have college funds but somewhat smaller because my husband and his ex got their finances in order later in life. So there is some money, but with the caliber of the school that stepdaughter will be attending, she will still need some loans to cover costs. I haven't brought up going to a cheaper school because that will be a fresh set of problems given where my daughter will be matriculating. Now for the top comments. Info. This is a difficult situation to judge as written. My question for you is this. Who has paid for your daughter's needs since you and your husband married? Has he contributed at all to her food, clothing, shelter, school-related expenses, extracurriculars, family trips, etc.? Or were those expenses borne solely by you and or the fund? Because if your current husband has contributed to his stepdaughter's expenses, I can see how he might think, I've spent thousands supporting this young woman over the years, money that could have come from her fund. Both my husband and I paid for things, because we both have careers and didn't nickel and dime in one another about who was buying what for whose kid. Not the a-hole. That settlement was for your deceased husband's children. Not your future children, and certainly not someone else's. I agree, not the a-hole. The money is for your deceased husband's children, not your current husband's children. Keep your stance. This is your daughter's money from her father. The other children have money from their father. To me, your current husband is the a-hole for even suggesting it. Right? This needs to be nipped in the bud and not even open for discussion. Opie, this is her inheritance from her father. It is from his death. Circumstances stole her father from her. I am not going to take away what he was able to give her. This is not open for discussion. Also, $40,000 is not that bad, and if she doesn't want that, she can go elsewhere. That's not necessarily for you to bring up, but her father should. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my son my car to pay off his debt? Let's start from the very beginning. Over 20 years ago, I divorced my then wife. I had 2 kids with her, my oldest son and my youngest daughter. I always had a very good relationship with my son. He was my one and only. At age 17, my son moved in with me and my girlfriend. I always try to get my daughter to move in too, but she refused. I tried to make it nice for us, but soon I realized that having another mouth to feed was emptying my bank account faster than I could see. I soon jumped from workplace to workplace and asked all my friends for money which I barely was able to pay back. So, I started asking my son for money. He paid for groceries here and there over the years. Then he helped me with some bills and even got a credit card on his name for us to use, since I couldn't get one due to my debt. It went well for a few years, but still my money was always on the low. I forgot to pay my car insurance for a few months and they ended my contract. So I created a new one with my son's name on it. I asked him, of course, as always, so he always knew what he was getting himself into. Soon, he moved out and moved in with his girlfriend. She was a very nice girl, or so I thought. He soon asked me to pay him back some money since now he had some credit card debt. He did the math and it summed up to around $10,000. I really didn't have that kind of money and he knew that, and he soon went no contact. He visited me and we talked normally for some time. Then he started asking me for my car. He asked me if I could give him my car so he could sell it to pay off his debts. I told him no immediately. I needed a car for my new job since it was in the neighboring city. He told me to take the train and bus and that there were cheap tickets and my job could help me get a permanent ticket. I told him that I couldn't do that. That was at the end of 2021. I told him if I didn't have the money for his debt until January of 2022, he could have a car. After that conversation, he went no contact again. January came and I didn't have the money. I really couldn't bring it up and I told him that. He asked me about my promise and a car, but I know I didn't promise him anything. I told him I still need a car. We had a long fight over the phone in which his girlfriend said that a loving father wouldn't do something like that to his son, with which she meant all the money I took from him. And with that statement, she was dead to me. I got diagnosed with depression due to the situation. I do regret my mistakes, but I think he made me suffer enough. I miss my son, but until he apologizes for treating me like this, I don't want to have anything to do with him either. I feel so torn. My daughter isn't there for me either. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole and the worst kind of deadbeat. He's worse than a deadbeat. He's racking up debt in his son's name and refusing to pay him back. There's a 0% chance the son's credit card debt isn't related to Opie's spending. I like how it's also somehow the new girlfriend's fault, who Opie thought was a nice girl, that his son doesn't want to be financially used anymore. I was waiting for why she wasn't nice. Oh, she dared stand up for her son. Jeez, you're the a-hole, Opie. I'm the daughter and my father, Opie, sent me this post so I can defend him in the comments. I won't be doing that though, lol. Please take this deadbeat to court and use this post as evidence he agreed to pay your brother back. Let me tell you something. My brother took my father to court together with a computer firm. My father bought an $800 screen under my brother's name but couldn't pay for it, so the company sued my brother. He then went to a lawyer to show him other things is done under my brother's and even my name, things I didn't even know about. He could clear his name and is now going to court with the company against my father. Your father is a trash. I'm sorry you and your siblings have a selfish mooch of a father. Last story. Am I the a-hole for calling the police when the people I was babysitting for would not answer their phone? Hi, I'm 14 and I babysit for a few people in my neighborhood. On Friday, I was babysitting for a couple that moved into the city from the south. They're only a block from my house, so my parents were okay with me staying there until 10 as they said they would be home by 9. They did not get home at 9. At 9:45, I started texting them to see if they were on the way. Then I called my parents. My mom came over because I was getting worried. It had snowed pretty bad on Friday and they weren't answering. At 11:30, we phoned the police as I was freaking out. The police got their names and address and I guess found their license plates like that. They found them in about 25 minutes. They were at their friend's house. They called me and they were mad that I called the police. I promise, I wouldn't have called the police if they had answered my texts or calls, and my mom was concerned as well. I didn't call to get them in trouble. I was worried. But they told my mom that I'm not mature enough to be babysitting if that's how I'm going to behave. I feel kind of bad that the police made them come home from their friend's house. But I think that they should have answered the phone. What if there was something wrong with their kids? Not the a-hole. The parents were taking advantage of you. You did everything you should have, including trying to reach them, contacting your mother, and then contacting the police. You've done nothing wrong. The parents are angry at being caught out on bad behavior. Yes, this was the epitome of maturity. Opie had valid reasons to be worried. They were the jerks here, not you, Opie, and not your mom. If they were responsible parents, they would have answered your calls. Or, gasp, gotten home on time as promised? Don't let them get you. Not the a-hole. 1. You are a literal child. 2. They gave you an undertaking and failed to keep it or inform you. 3. You attempted to contact them first. 4. You sought advice from an adult, your mom. 5. They disrespected not only you, but your parents who were comfortable allowing you out until 10, not early midnight. 6. You had no option to just go home when they didn't show, because you were still responsible for their children. They're a-holes, and you should warn other babysitters off them. Not the a-hole OP. But for clarity, I think they only phoned police at 11:30. It then took 25 minutes for police to locate them. At the very least, it would be another half hours for them to be home because police are gonna do a quick interview there and then, before releasing them home. It's gonna be well after midnight. Never babysit for them again, OP. Not the a-hole. 3 things. 1. You said they moved to your city from the south. I assume you mean a state that doesn't get a lot of snow? I live in Canada, and when it snows here, the people who have lived here their entire lives forget how to drive. They could have been in an accident. 2. They were jerks for not giving you the phone number of the place they were going to be. Cell phones run out of power and get left in purses. They should have given you contact information. 3. You got advice from your mom. You didn't do this without thinking it through, or out of spite. You had legitimate concerns, and they were enough for your mom to agree that calling the police was a good idea. You did the exact right thing. They were upset because a 14-year-old girl was more responsible than they were.